Guys, let's jump right in. Let's not waste any time. Mace Windu from Hot Toys has arrived for pre-order. Long awaited, but good enough is my question. Because, we really wanted one of those Mace Windu figures for quite a while now. And we weren't sure for the longest period of time that was ever going to arrive. However, eventually they teased it with that battle droid, the regular battle droid. And we were like, you know what? Mace Windu is getting made. And then they said, you know what? We've confirmed Mace Windu is definitely getting made. They showed Padme, they showed Anakin. Now they've shown Mace, $279. Guys, the head sculpt is, I guess, a little controversial, but I guess we're going to see the panel's thoughts on this. I actually want to start with Mr. Kiko because I don't know how hot of a take he's going to have on this. Kiko, the question really is, yes, we got a Mace Windu, and that is amazing because I think we're all pretty much going to want that. However, are we good with good enough here? Because maybe the head sculpt's a 10 to you, but to me, it has a little bit of issue. What do you think, Kiko?
Well, we didn't know we were going to be talking about this, first of all, because when I got the set list, if you want to call it that, from you yesterday, this was not on there. But then we woke up to, well, at least I woke up to, and there's some people stay up for these announcements, but we woke up to this announcement, which we knew it was potentially coming at some point, but here it is in all of its glory. And underwhelming a bit. The thing that I love, I think the best thing they did is that they showed multiple angles from this. And I think that is what's important. Like if you're looking at this right here, I don't know who that dude is on the right, but if you look at the guy with the actual saber, that's kind of Mace Windu. It's one of those head sculpts that, and this is going to be controversial, but I've said this before. Some people say that Tarkin's a 10 out of 10. I don't think it is because from certain angles, he looks weird. I think sometimes he looks goofy and he looks like Tweety Bird or something crazy. But this is one of those figures I think that is going to be completely left up to lighting and angles. I think that's what it's going to be. No matter what it's going to be, people are going to have an issue because, for one, there's no hair. It's hard to really hide the fact that this is literally just a head sculpt, no pun intended, about that. And so with it being said is that there's not a lot of things to say, okay, this is the character. This is it. If you are looking at a Keanu Reeves, you got the hair to kind of give an idea of who that character is. You look at Kylo Ren, you can tell that sculpt is great, but look at the hair, that's what. But that photo right there, go back one. That photo when he's in there, that is a really awesome photo that they included because from there, I know that is Mace Windu. And I think that's what it comes down to is that when you're looking at these figures, and I was trolling hard on a lot of Reddit threads today because people get really, really into the details, which they should, because as people say, I'm not paying X amount of dollars or this much money for something that's good enough. I think that's where, for me, I have an issue with because nothing is ever going to be perfect. We have to understand that these are sculpts made by people and that this is art and there aren't robots, making these things, that may come in the future, but these are artist interpretations and these are people literally sculpting these things to give it to us. So with that being mine, I know there's going to be imperfections and there's going to be things that are off. And I'm okay with that. I saw some people, I know we'll get to in a minute, about the Chrome Mando saying, oh my God, did you see his wrist gauntlet? It's missing the sticker. How in the world did they let this out of quality control? And people lost their mind over that. But
you saw that too?
I did. I was like, are you guys really that upset about these things? Everyone's like, I'm not paying $400 for something that's not accurate. To me, you look into this room and you would see that figure. There is no chance in hell you're going to be like, who the hell is that guy? You know who it is. And everyone's right. Like, I need it to look like a miniature Samuel L. Jackson. That's what I'm paying this money for, the realism. I think you're getting it. But I think we need to honestly understand that there's going to be discrepancies, artist interpretation, things that aren't 100%. And I'm okay with that because I want, this may be controversial as well. I don't want my jobs and everything given over to AI and to computers making everything. I want that personal touch to something. I want there to be an artist take on it. I'm okay with that. And when I walk in, I know this is Mace Windu. Now, is it as good as the Winter Soldier, Nick Fury? I don't think it is. It's the same person, but I think the Nick Fury Avengers, head sculpt, I think it's better than this. But I still know it's Samuel L. Jackson. And yeah, I'm 100% sure getting it. But I think we really need to press pause on if it's not a 10 out of 10, it's not for me. That's my
right. Well, Kiko, because I think you raised a really good point here that in our culture, this just goes outside of collecting too. We can kind of be like all or nothing. We can kind of be like, oh, it's either fucking awful or it's fucking great, right?
Right. There's
That's
no
really
middle
how
ground
we,
anymore.
yeah,
There's no
that's
middle
kind of
ground.
how we can tend to be sometimes. However, I do feel like on this one, I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. I feel like I'm like, you know what? This is like an 8 head sculpt to me. And I think that's why the question I've posed, I think, is a pretty solid one, because it's like, you know what? It's a beloved character and a character that is very much overdue. So are we happy with an 8? Because we're just happy to get him, right? And I think you could say that about Doc Ock too, but people were more upset about that head sculpt. I think that head sculpt, people were like,
Anything
we're
that
happy to
involves
just get a
Steve is
Doc
gonna be an
Ock, but
issue.
it's like that head sculpt, I didn't think it was terrible as bad as people were saying, but I was like, it needs work, right? And they said they were going to adjust it. Mace, I've not heard anything so far that they're going to adjust this. There needs to be, Hot Toys needs to have a big backlash to adjust something. Otherwise, you're going to get this or less than this. So I think overall, I'm interested to see what Carlos thinks. But for me, I mean, you know what? I'm probably still going to get it, because to me, Kiko, I think you're still right here. I think this still looks like Mace Windu. It's not a perfect 10, but you know what? I really want a Mace Windu, and I think a lot of people do too. So he's a very important Star Wars character, and I think it's Samuel L. Jackson, and we want him. So, Carlos, what do you think, bro? Where are you falling on this one?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because I was adjusting my settings. It keeps going out.
Oh, no, you're good.
So, all right. I know. So I actually made a poll in the group, the Facebook group, and I went all the way from 10 to, I believe, 6.5 and 6 and under. And it's one of the first times I've actually seen a sculpt be so divided. It was like 15%, 10 out of 10. Another 15% were like 9.5s, and like every
Loki
other
was pretty divided.
Yeah, Loki was.
Well, I mean, Loki was like most. It was like 80% said it was like a 7.5,
right,
and lower, like in the Facebook group. But this
You're talking about range, though, right?
Right, like range, right? Like this one is like everyone's voting, like literally every half point. There's like 10% of people, so it's really divided, across everywhere. So it was kind of interesting, right, to see that. So here's what I think. I'm gonna try to rank this based on where, for example, the NR Joker is at. I think the NR Joker is like a 9.5, right? And I'm saying, okay, if that likeness is a 9.5, I don't think this kind of matches up with how good that figure would be sculpt wise. I'm not talking about anything else. So I don't believe this a 9.5. I think at certain angles, yes, it looks better, but you can say that about almost any figure. Even with Loki, you can say with the helmet is better than without, right? You can always highlight it at its best angle. I would say this figure right now is about a 7.5 to an 8. And I would agree with Kiko that the Marvel version or the Nick Fury version is a much better sculpt. That's for sure. Good enough. I mean, at this point, it's the only Mace you're going to get. It's like the Mantis. If Mantis is a character you've been wanting, then that's the only thing you have. It's like someone's mentioning Django. So if you wanted a Django, and even if you didn't like it, that's the only Hot Toys Django you're going to get. You don't really have a choice. So good enough? I think so. I think it's more than good enough. I think Loki is good enough for those people that wanted it. And I think Mace is good enough for most collectors. It's definitely not a 9.5 or a 9+. I know art can be subjective, but I wonder if sometimes we blindly say it's a 9.5 or more just because we love Star Wars that much or been wanting this figure that much, that we're going to just say, oh, it's a 9 or higher. When if you really were to critique it correctly, or I think, at least in my opinion, then I don't see it being a 9 or 9.5. Because again, if the NR Joker is a 9.5 and that looks really close to Heath Ledger, I don't see this one being that close. So again, 7.5 to an 8, but it has been very spread out throughout based on the the poll that I did there on the Facebook group. So yeah, I think though, if we never get another Mace, this is gonna be like a Tarkin or Director Krennic type situation. Like, is the only one you're gonna get, and it's gonna be sought after in the future. So yeah, I think it's good enough.
Well, I think
it's not like trash or anything.
No.
So.
Well, I think Mark Attack raised a really good comment. And sorry, Kiko, to cover your face. I think Padme and Anakin set the bar, and this is below it. I think that's kind of where
I don't think so. See, I don't even think Padme and Anakin set the bar.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was so concerned. I was like, well, all the people that are nitpicking head sculpts, I want you to all keep that same energy for Padme, because I don't think it's a great sculpt. Even
no,
it's better than the prototype,
I think it's good. Anakin's a great sculpt.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think both of those can be anywhere between like an 8 to an 8.5. Like maybe Anakin, I give it again 8.5. Just because I think for me a 9 has to be something that is just spot on. Yondu's, Tarkin's, the NR Joker, like those are just 9 and up, and I don't really see that with even Padme or. So I don't really think it set a bar. I think it just it's a really solid or great head sculpt, but it's not among the best that they've done. This is an okay sculpt. That's how I see it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I see, before I let Kiko jump back in here, I think the Anakin is pretty freaking great. I mean, I think the Padme, I think, is pretty good. I think she falls in the range of maybe a little bit better than Mace, of good enough, right? I think Anakin, though, is like really good. I think that's why people have gone crazy for that head sculpt. But they've always done Anakin well. I mean, they've done Anakin well pretty much every time, because they keep using the same head and making slight adjustments. But with this Mace, I mean, I've seen the third-party Mace and that head sculpt, and it doesn't look too far off from this, to be honest. And that's not saying that, I mean, maybe the third party is just that good. I mean, maybe some third parties really come out really well. And this one, I think Hot Toys, maybe this is a little bit below, obviously, what they're capable of. But I am with you guys. I do think it's good enough. I think it's good enough. I mean, $279, that's a really good price. We all want a Mace Windu, so we're probably going to buy it anyway, right? As long as it's not terrible, which I don't think it is at all, then I think we're going to get it. So, and if you really love Mace, you're going to be happy, right? You know, like Carlos and I have talked about that Loki, right? That Loki without the helmet on, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's off, right? Put the helmet on it, but I'm a huge Loki fan. Put the helmet on and I'm thrilled, right? So, you know, you're willing to kind of, you know, look past maybe a deficiency in certain areas if you like really love the character. So that's what I would say. But yeah, so I think we're all in accord, right? It's good enough, but hopefully they update it, right? Maybe they'll update. Maybe hey, if you guys have complaints, give them to Hot Toys, because again, they're not going to change shit unless you say something. I mean,
I wouldn't say though that like oh, they're going to update this for sure. You know, I think we've all been like, at this point, know that whatever the show in the prototype, expect this with a 10% decline. Don't expect something better, because at this point, like what happened with Doc Brown and all these other things, to expect something else at this point, which is, you know, setting yourself up to disappointment, as Riley would say.
Right. I think so too. Unless you see a statement from Hot Toys, from JC or somewhere else that they are going to update this head sculpt, do not expect them to do that. Like that's, if you're pleasantly surprised, great, but don't expect it, because then you're going to be disappointed. So like, it's not every time where Rey, they just update it, make it better, right? Or Kylo, they make it better, or like, you know, Killmonger or whatever, right? They will do that sometimes, but usually not. The Wenwu, they made better, probably because they got a lot of complaints, probably in Asia more so than here. So, but
the Mark Attack. Now the question is Carlos going to get it rooted?
Eyebrows for Mace, yeah.
Dude, I won't even get Mace, not even for like $100. So
well, there you go.